us.
We don't do pandering on this channel, so I'm going to tell you exactly what a lot of people on the left won't admit. Joe Biden's a bit of an embarrassment. There was this D-Day event where they had to rush him out early. At one point in time, it looked like he was trying to sit down, but there wasn't a chair. And his wife looked like she was embarrassed about him. I mean, I just don't think just because you're on the left that you're supposed to just automatically, agree or go along with what's going on. I mean, if you see things in front of your face that are wrong or don't make any sense, I think you should call it out. I think tribalism is really a big problem in this country, right? Joe Biden having to be rushed out of an event like this, how does that make us look as a nation, right? If he can't even manage to just handle just a normal event, how is he supposed to run the country? Now, if you've been believing anything that I've said so far, consider how easy it is for you to be manipulated. This very video that you're watching began with Joe Biden at the very end of the event. Yes, it was over 4 hours, and Joe Biden, as far as I can see, left with everybody else. He was there throughout all the speeches. He was there giving a salute and doing whatever he was supposed to do. And I didn't see him get rushed out. I didn't see him have to go to the bathroom or whatever it is. But the entire right-wing media is going around spreading all of these lies. And the thing about it is, if Joe Biden was as bad as they say he is, why would they need to be making stuff up? And stuff as silly as this. There's so much stuff to criticize Joe Biden for. So why lie?
We moved Joe Biden on their screens there, that ceremony, that flag.
Listen, man, if patriotism is not your thing, you're not all into this America first and I love America and all that kind of stuff. If that's not your thing, so you want to make fun of the president of the United States while he's in another country representing the United States, if you want to go against your team, which would be the United States, if you're a patriot, if that's your thing, you can make fun of him based on how bad he looks. I mean, look at this grandpa representing the United States of America. I mean, he just looks like he's on borrowed time, right? And if that's your thing, I mean, there's a lot of material there. He does kind of look a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. I'm not into the geriatric thing, which is why I don't support Biden or Donald Trump, right? Because I'm consistent. I'm not just picking on, my political opponents just to pick on my political opponents. I'm not an anti-conservative, right? So I don't use the anti-liberal tactics of people like Ben Shapiro, who, will just find reasons to go after your political opponents, whether they're valid or not. And if there's nothing valid to go after, they'll make stuff up. I mean, and think about that. Joe Biden is so awful, let Ben Shapiro tell it, that Ben Shapiro has to manufacture nonsense. He has to make a whole video about Joe Biden sitting down in a chair. That's the whole video. How bad could Joe Biden be, according to Ben Shapiro, that he needs to waste his time with nonsense like this?
Wasn't an answer then, and it isn't an answer now. He spoke about the NATO alliance, and he referenced the war in Ukraine quite directly, saying the country was being invaded.
So I scrubbed through the entire video. It's over 4 hours long. Joe Biden showed up early with the other people and also left with everybody else. I think it's like 4.5 hours later. The point at which they were making fun of, saying he tried to sit in a chair, it was like a nothing burger, right? He literally starts to sit down at the time where you're supposed to be sitting down, right? He starts a little bit earlier than other people. I think his wife, because you can see him leaning towards his wife, she says something to him, he says something to her. So that'll be the reason for the delay, right? And then he sits down, the President of France, his wife sits down, President of France sits down, everybody sits down. That's it. And this is before one of the, I think it's this defense secretary, I think, is about to speak. So that's the portion of the video. So a key detail as well is Joe Biden didn't even speak yet, right? So there's a lot of people online on Twitter who are making trying to pretend like he tried to sit down and there was no chair. There was a chair. There was no incident. Then they're like, oh, they had to rush him off. They did not rush him off. Again, he left at the normal time. He stayed for the entire event. He did everything. He spoke. He shook people's hands. He did everything. I thought when I was looking, I was like, okay, well, maybe he had to go to the bathroom and they're making a big deal. He's an old guy. We got to go to the bathroom. Like, that's the thing, right? And when you get older, but nothing like that happened. I never saw him get rushed out or had to go to the bathroom. He simply sat down. Now think about this. If the right-wing media were telling the truth about how bad Joe Biden is, if they really meant what they said, why would they waste time on something like this, right? If they were really serious actors and they were real patriots and they cared about the country, why would they take a time where we are celebrating or memorializing the, D-Day, right? That was a critical, a very important part of American history, right? So if you are even remotely patriotic, right, and Joe Biden didn't actually do anything crazy or wacky or say something crazy, why would any patriot choose to go and mock the president of the United States during a D-Day ceremony when he's representing the country and when the event is... If Joe Biden had said something stupid in France, if he had fell down, if he had gotten lost and was stumbling around or did anything at all that was representative of the dementia arguments, or just something that he actually did that was, legit, that you could actually make fun of or call out, I would not be making this video. I don't want to defend Joe Biden. You watch my channel, you see I don't go around defending Joe Biden. Joe Biden does something ridiculous and you want to make fun of him, have at it. You want to go have charges against Joe Biden, want to lock him up, have fun. The reason I'm doing this video is not because they're making fun of Joe Biden, is because they're making fun of American conservatives. I'm making this video in defense of American conservatives. All the millions of American conservatives that are being lied to and deceived and manipulated by these savages like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, all these really, really disgusting human beings with no integrity whatsoever, who constantly insult the intelligence of American conservatives. That's why I'm making this video. I'm making this video to once again call out that the right-wing media ecosystem is absolute trash, and I'm sick and tired of them treating American conservatives the way they do. I want to spark a revolt. I want American conservatives to demand better from their thought leaders. I want them to be more frustrated than me, more upset, more insulted than me, and be the ones going after these people like Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and saying enough is enough, right? We are actual conservatives, and what you're doing is just going after liberals every day, this anti-liberal stuff. We're not anti-liberals, we're actual conservatives. We actually have values. We actually have things that are really important to us, and you guys are not helping. You guys are making things worse. You guys are helping the other side by distracting with nonsense, right? The foolishness needs to end. That's why I'm making this video, right? This video is for American conservatives. I'm standing up for you. I'm pointing out how you are being defrauded by these frauds and scammers and liars and manipulators and parasites. It's not about Joe Biden. To hell with Joe Biden. This is such a big deal for our American history, right? If you're into freedom and America and patriotism and all this kind of stuff, you support the troops, right? There are people who served the country, risked their lives, lost so many people, 100-year-old guys, right? Being celebrated, being remembered, 21 gun salute. If the right-wing media folks were really the people that they pretend to be, they would not dare have anything to say about this event other than saluting it, right? Putting it on their channel and maybe making some commentary about what they think about D-Day and, how proud they are of our troops and a salute to the veterans, right? That is what, if in my opinion, there is no real conservative movement in this country. What we have is something completely different. If we did have a conservative movement, that would be the focus. They'll be the ones who are more, their attention would be on D-Day, D-Day, D-Day. All the right-wing channels be putting a bunch of D-Day videos. They might have some veterans on their channels and talk to them. Tell me about your experiences, blah, 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 right? Maybe do a moment of silence. That's what it would look like, right? But if the stuff they say is actually not true and they're just a bunch of parasites, dishonest parasites with no moral compass, and I'm referring to right-wing media, not the audience that they manipulate and lie to, that's what it would look like. Making fun of Joe Biden for sitting down in a chair.
That statement made, of course, as he is due to meet Vladimir Zelensky.
Of more than 50 countries. Because if we do, Ukraine will be subjugated.
Had a lot of civilians to die, and then it took a long time for France to actually acknowledge that a lot of civilians lost their lives and to commemorate that.
Nobody knew, in France, people knew better than we think. But of course, it was not common.
If I were a patriot and for some reason I had no respect for the troops whatsoever, just didn't really care about any of that stuff, didn't really care about the history of this country and how much blood was spilled for our freedom. If I didn't care about that stuff, but somehow I was a patriot and I wanted to make fun of anything, I would leave my president alone, whether I voted for them or not. I mean, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. He is representing the United States, right? So as a United States citizen, to be mocking the president of the United States, not very patriotic. If I really wanted to, if I just somehow didn't care about D-Day or whatever, what I would do is I would focus on the president of France's wife. There's something weird about her. You even seen that video clip when the president of France, he sticks his elbow out, and I don't know, man, the look on her face, it's kind of weird. And as a patriot, I think, you know, if I wanted to go that angle, I would be kind of giving Joe Biden's wife props, because if I had to choose between Joe Biden's wife and the other guy's wife, I think I'd go with Joe Biden's wife. I don't know. I don't know what her deal is. And maybe she's having a bad day. I don't know nothing about the lady. But again, if I wanted to make that kind of silly video, as a patriot, I would be making fun of the other country's leaders, right? Not my own, right? Now, just because you're a patriot doesn't mean you're going to ignore corruption and failures of your government, right? But there's no corruption and failure in Joe Biden going to a ceremony for D-Day, right? That's not the thing to go after him about, right? And certainly him sitting in a chair is not the thing to go after him about, right? That's the kind of thing that someone who is not patriotic would do. I think if you know, partisan Americans were really genuine in the way they present themselves, what would happen is it would be the left who are the main ones who, when President Trump was president, would be making fun of him and mocking him or whatever. And when they're doing that, the American conservatives would be calling him out and, you know, saying how unpatriotic that is. This, you know, maybe you don't like Trump, but he's our president. Show some respect, right? That's what you'd see if we're really genuine, right? The media, right-wing media and influencers. And then when roles are reversed and Joe Biden, who they don't like, is representing America, right? They would be setting the example to the left, right? They would be the ones, you know, putting their money where their mouths are. And, you know, they would be basically showing respect to the event, showing respect to our veterans. And, you know, you might see commentary like, listen, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but you know what? I want to focus on, you know, honoring these troops, honoring these veterans, right? You don't have to like Joe Biden to show some respect for the country. And I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that if you really are a patriot, that is what you would do, right? So if your patriotism is really a fraud, right, and you actually don't care, you're like, whatever, it's just rhetoric you're putting out there, then what you're seeing coming from right-wing media and influencers, it would make sense.
Distinguished guests, please remain standing for the national anthem of the French Republic, followed by the national anthem of the United States of America.
Chers invités, veuillez rester debout pour l'hymne.
He has given France U.S. servicemen. We're expecting to hear from the U.S. President Joe Biden.
Secretary of Defense of the United States of America.
Okay, the Secretary of Defense is going to make some remarks. Just a few seconds ago.
The greatest, most complicated operation ever.
I'm going to end this video with this comment. Again, I can't stand Joe Biden. I don't think he should be our president. I have even worse feelings for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a fraud. He is a grown man baby and very, very destructive to the country, right? But more importantly, I am not a Joe Biden supporter, right? He's a liar, a fraud, should not be president. Think about the fact that almost the entire right-wing media, from the online influencers to the GOP to you know, what you're seeing from these YouTubers, you know, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, they are so dishonest and have such low morals that they make someone like me, who is always calling out Joe Biden, right? Definitely not a fan of Joe Biden. They force me in a position to have to be, in a way, defending him. I don't want to defend Joe Biden, right? I want him gone. I want us to have better options. I don't want to decide between one grandpa versus another grandpa, right? I don't like those options. But, you know, the way we vote and our ideology is going to be based on the knowledge that we have and experiences that we have. But if the entire right-wing media is so dishonest that they're pretty much all spreading a bunch of lies about the invisible chair and he had to run away and poopy pants this and whatever, and apologists will say, oh, it's all good and fun. No, it's not all good and fun. There are many people who are watching these tweets, watching these videos, and they are using it as validation for the idea that Joe Biden has dementia. Now, I believe Joe Biden definitely has some issues. He's an old guy, of course. I mean, that's not surprising. But nothing that they're talking about right now regarding this event is a representation of that. So I just want you to think about something. If you're getting your information from a group of liars to this degree, then what do you really know about the Democrats or Joe Biden or what's happening in the country, right? The idea that you're not going to be affected by the rhetoric coming from the people that you trust and listen to is ridiculous. They obviously are going to be affecting you. And, so your points of view, like if you can't stand Biden or the Democrats, or you think that the country's going the wrong direction, a big part of why you feel that way would be based on the information that you're presented with. And if, as a conservative, you basically don't have any honest sources. I've been covering political news for a while. I've been watching these guys' channels, and I have yet to see a right-wing influencer that has much integrity at all. I mean, there's some people here and there, but generally speaking, the leading right-wing thought leaders, they're either unhinged, some level of goons, or just parasites like Ben Shapiro that care about nothing other than money. They will sell out this country. They will treat American conservatives like they're stupid. I mean, just the worst of the worst. I think that at some point in time, you got to do some self-reflection and ask yourself why things are the way they are. Why is it that you can't find any kind of integrity within the right-wing ecosystem? What's the reasoning behind that? And more importantly, what's the impact on you and your points of view? Right? The things that really get you upset and you're aggravated about and disgusted with. Maybe take some time to question those things. I was apolitical most of my life, so I avoided getting into a lot of these kinds of emotional situations, manipulated by media and things like that. But even though I didn't watch a lot of media, news media, the really big stories did pierce through. So I did get misled on a few really high-profile incidents that were able to pierce through and get to me. But at some point in time, I realized that some of the information I was presented to was not accurate. And then I saw it happen again. Then I recognized the pattern. And then at one point in time, I came to the conclusion that I'm no longer going to hold on to my points of view about any major news incident like a police shooting or whatever. I would have to go and examine it myself because I realized how much lies were being put out there, right? So if anyone were to ask me, what do you think about Trayvon Martin or whatever it is, unless I actually looked into it myself, I would discount my previous perspective on it, right? Because I want to know the truth. I don't want to be thinking things that are inaccurate. And once I realized all the deception, I was able to step aside and say, wait a minute, what's really true? American conservatives, I think, massively so, many American conservatives really need to have a moment like that in their lives where they stop and think about what they've been told, the ideas that they hold, where do they come from? Because clearly there's a lot of liars, right? This is a perfect example to show that. So how much have you been lied to about, and for how long? And what's been the impact on your ideology and what you believe to be true? This is the Debate Me channel, debate me comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.